Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This is my top 10 stocks as we head into Thursday, March 28th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts as a tool to make decisions as a trader, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about this tool and how it can be used to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. And then also for you Bitcoin traders, I will do a bonus analysis at the end. First off, a couple clarifications. Number one, the candlestick right there will still be moving around. That is because the market's open for a small amount of time still. So I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. Ticker symbol number one, IBIO. Very, very impressive move today. And now we have a pattern that I think is suggesting a pullback. Now, keep in mind, pullback is not the same as a crash. It's not the same as a reversal or anything like that. So before you go and freak out and, start throwing out a bunch of conspiracy theories. Let me bring this over here. I would call this, let me change that to green to represent the support. I would call this a rising wedge pattern, which is a bearish pattern. You would think that would be a bullish one. Actually, a falling wedge is the bullish one, but rising wedge pattern. And, like I said, I don't think it's a very bold call on my part because this thing made such a massive move today. So getting some sort of pullback to the downside, which would be a break to the downside of that pattern, I don't think is very crazy. And if it does break to the downside, I mean, think about it. The price could come all the way down here, which, I don't think is crazy at all, to 250. But I mean, think about what you'd still, let me change that actually to have it stand out a little bit. So the price could come down there to 250. So break to the downside, come down here. And even with the breakdown there and the pullback, what would you still have? Well, you'd still have a set of lows up here, way higher than the previous set down there. So like you said, when I say pullback, I'm not saying that this is going to reverse and crash or anything like that. But yeah, this pattern here is suggesting a bit of a pullback moving into the next, I guess tomorrow is the last day of the week because remember the markets are closed on Friday. But like I said, I think there's going to be a bit of a pullback here with this rising wedge pattern. So we'll see what happens on Thursday. Next one, NKLA. Been tracking this one very closely, and once again, updates need to be made. First thing I'm going to do is just get rid of this level as it served its purpose for now. And first key update is just based on a foundational rule in charting, which states when levels of resistance are broken and closes above, you want to see them act as support. So the newest ideal level of support, ideal meaning, hey Clay, what would make this chart look the healthiest moving forward? And that would be if the price can now stay up there above 84.5 cents. With that being said, if the price falls below that level, that does not mean the entire chart's destroyed or ruined or anything like that. But from an overarching standpoint, just watch that purple line right there, the 50-period moving average. As the name implies, that line is going to move itself higher and higher. So it's basically like a trend line that's going to draw itself for you. So assuming you care about the big picture point of view, then as long as the price stays above that trend line, quote unquote, then the overall trend is still plenty in the bull's favor. In terms of levels of resistance, nothing complicated here. Literally just a question of where did the party finally stop today? And that was right up there at 94.5 cents. So like I said, no fancy logic other than that, just simply where the party stopped. So moving forward, that'll be the main battleground. But all in all, higher highs and higher lows is the name of the game. And that's exactly what this one's been doing. Next one, TLRY. Did this one yesterday, and we have, once again, a nice pattern breakout here. So it drew that bull pennant pattern. You can see the price broke out, came back, classic example of that support, or excuse me, that resistance then acting as a support, and back up it went. So definitely updates once again need to be made, and essentially kind of a case of deja vu because we once again have the price making the big move up, although I am going to throw in a bit of a different level because I'm curious about this level moving forward. Now, if this level seems irrelevant to you and you're like, well, I would never draw that, I'll totally respect that. I can see that, but I still think nonetheless, in my mind, I don't know, that seems like a relatively important level. So we'll see if the price can break above that area of resistance. Now, the interesting thing about that resistance is theoretically, even if the price never breaks above it, that would still imply that the price could still be going up higher and higher and higher, because notice that has an upward slant to it. So like I said, in theory, the price could never ever break that level of resistance, but it could still remain in an overall uptrend. So keep that in mind. And then as far as areas of support are concerned, nothing new here, assuming you've watched the past videos. You've heard me talk time and time again. And actually, I just talked about the purple line in the previous one. So this is a good example of why that purple line matters. But check it out. Did a great job of acting as support. And I was going to say right there, but I guess that's a bit of a stretch. Didn't quite get that close to it. But more of the story here moving forward, as long as the price stays above that purple line, the bulls remain in full control. Next one here, CGC, another marijuana stock, and I'm going to go through this one very quickly because literally basically the exact same thing I just said with TLRY, the other marijuana stock. So we had our bull pennant breakout destroyed today. You can see the price is working itself higher, and now it's just a question of really just building those higher bases, and that's what and where the purple line comes into play, which I've talked about. So as that line moves itself higher and higher, as long as price stays above that level, then everything is still perfectly fine. And not the one difference here is that there's not really, I mean, I guess I could draw something like that, but in my mind, that doesn't really stand out. That doesn't seem very relevant. I just think in this situation, the one difference would be going back to that very basic question, well, where did the party finally stop today? And that was right up there at $9.45. So $9.45, maybe a little miniature double top right here is forming. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. But overall, like I said, at the end of the day, I'm just, we're looking at a very small portion of the chart when I'm talking about this area right here, because big picture wise, you can see the upwards trend remains fully intact. Next one, MARA. And this one, I mean, there's a couple of reasons, but I think the main dynamic that in my mind stands out the most, because most people are going to be watching this area very closely, is right up here at this $22.50 mark. Let's just take a quick look at the history. You can see right there, acted as resistance, acted as resistance, and then today acted as resistance. That is not a great discovery on my part. That's not a special talent. I assure you a lot of people have located that level. And I say that because when a lot of people are watching the same levels and wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So that does not mean there are guarantees, but is it valid? Is it plausible to think that if the price comes up here and pushes up through that level, that break in of itself could create additional buying pressure and momentum? That is certainly a plausible scenario. So really, in my mind, that's the most interesting dynamic here. All about 22.50. Can the price get the break through it? Let's see what happens. Real quick, want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for my free live online webinar that I'm offering here very soon. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free webinar. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box you can use to get signed up. Or if you're watching at my website, there's an area right there on the page you're on where you can use to sign up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free webinar. Next one here, VERB, and a super, super interesting situation right now, all revolving around that pink line there, which denotes the 200 period moving average. And the reason why is, well, first off, the price you can see is oh so close, but more interesting level is, check it out, or more interesting reason I should say is, look at the last time it was down here. Great bounce up right here. Not as good of a bounce up, pulled back, again, didn't hit exactly, but another nice move up. Does that mean that it's guaranteed for sure, without question, to happen again where the price explodes upwards? Of course not. But as we were just talking about, is it valid? Is it rational to think so? Absolutely. And especially after today's movement, I mean, to think about it, it gapped up, came all the way up here, and is now pulled all the way back here. So it's one of those questions where, has everybody waved the white flag and has everybody capitulated, and now it's getting ready to turn itself back around? I mean, it's bounced from that level a couple times before. Doesn't mean it'll happen again, so that's why risk management matters. But if you like penny stocks and you like these sorts of situations, you can throw out the question of, hey, is history going to repeat itself? Certainly keep an eye on this one. Next one here, CZOO, and what an absolutely monster move today. Higher highs and higher, well, I should not necessarily say today, but it started off yesterday. You can see volume came in very nicely, had a bull pennant right there, got the break, and has just continued to grind higher and higher. And that's the one thing that I don't want to say ruins the chart, because it doesn't. But if you do like to play breakouts, the breakout has, technically speaking, already occurred, because we had this bull pennant pattern form today, but then during the last 30 minutes, you can see right here, it has broken out, and this has all occurred on higher volume. But with that being said, we still get to ask a very exciting question. That question being, is this the start of something even bigger? Now think about that question. It makes no sense to ask that question if nothing worthwhile has even happened. But something worthwhile has happened, so therefore we can ask that question. To be fair, I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe this thing just goes right back down. But that's a two-sided coin, because maybe this is the start of something even bigger, and this thing's getting ready to rock and roll that much more. So yes, if you like to play the breakout has already happened. But if you like to play continuation, if you like to try to catch the momentum and stuff like that, and you like to just ask that question of, okay, the break's occurred, but is there even way more to come? Then definitely keep an eye on this one. Next one here, TSLA Tesla, and this is one where, what was that? I think MARA. Where in my mind, there's a very interesting dynamic here where you got to think a ton of people are watching it. Right up there at basically $182, give or take a little bit. You can see right there, resistance. Didn't hit it close enough, or didn't hit exactly, but close enough, resistance. Directly hit it right there, resistance. So along those lines of the self-fulfilling prophecies, guaranteed? No. But is it valid to think that the price comes up there and pushes up through that level, that break could create that much upside buying pressure, especially when it's Tesla, a relatively popular stock? I mean, I think there's a couple people out there who have heard of this stock here, but all kidding aside, that just, kind of compounds the fact that those self-fulfilling prophecies can be very real on very popular stocks such as Tesla here. And you got to think that a ton of people are watching that 182 mark. So let's see if the bulls can get the break on Thursday. Next one here, CCL, and same general idea. So I'm going to go through these ones very quickly because you've heard me say it already in a couple ones. But we have, again, one of these self-fulfilling prophecy type points. Check this one, right at 1765. Sticks out like a sore thumb. Rejected, rejected. And then basically 3 times today, rejected, rejected, rejected. So if the price can come up here and then get the breakup through there, does that break create that much more buying pressure? Maybe you got some shorts up there with stop losses hiding and you get some sort of maybe potential short squeeze action. Obviously, that's speculation on my part, but it all remains very, very rational because at the end of the day, that's a very well-defined level. Those potential self-fulfilling prophecies do exist. So we'll see what happens with it if the price can return back upwards. From a support standpoint, if maybe you like to play pullbacks, definitely keep an eye on that pink line there, that 200 period moving average. You can see so far so good. It did do a good job of holding earlier today. Next one, TQQQ, which is an ETF that measures the NASDAQ market. So if you believe the NASDAQ market as a whole is going to go up, this one will also go up. So it had definitely a rough day today. With that being said, check out the last 30 minutes. Very, very impressive. Very, very impressive volume, which all now leads to the question that everybody and their brother's uncle is going to be asking. Okay, very nice move, but what's it going to do at that purple line there, which is the 50 period moving average? And I asked that because looking right there, you can see, well, started off the day right up around that level and then getting absolutely hammered back down from that area. Now, that does not mean that the price goes back up there. It's once again going to get hammered back to the downside. I'm just saying that that purple line here, with the track record that it just displayed right there, a lot of eyeballs going to be watching it. So there's no doubt about it. This last 30 minutes, very, very impressive. Is there any sort of genuine strength behind it? Well, let's see how it behaves with that 50 period moving average and if the price can break above it and stay above it on Thursday. In the event the price does roll back over, then classic example. Look at this. I'll turn that into a quick plug. Go get signed up for the free webinar. Here is a real life classic example of the power of charts. That pink line, you've heard me talk about that numerous times already, but look at that. Beautiful bounce, beautiful bounce, beautiful bounce right off that level. So that'll be the main area of support moving into tomorrow, if assuming the price does get rejected back down. So that wraps up the top 10 stocks. Again, for you Bitcoin traders, I'll get to that here in just a second. But for you stock traders out there, definitely go get signed up for that free webinar. It'll be very soon, Thursday, March 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So go get signed up, and I hope to see you there. Now, for you Bitcoin traders, let's talk Bitcoin. All right, one quick clarification. We are no longer looking at the 30-minute time frame. We are looking at the 4-hour time frame because Bitcoin is open 24/7. So I want this chart to remain relevant for as long as possible. And yeah, a bit of a disappointment here. Price made this big surge here, actually slightly broke above those highs, and then really just flushed back to the downside. Now, I say all that in a very, very narrow sense. From the big picture perspective, the chart hasn't done anything wrong at all. What would I consider wrong? Well, the first wrong thing would be if the price breaks below that purple line there. And then a much bigger wrong thing would be if the price were to break down below that pink line, which is that 200 period moving average. So again, classic example. Been talking about it already. Right there. Great example of holding, great example of holding. And as of now, the price isn't anywhere close to it. So it's not like it's being threatened, but I can see somebody saying, okay, Clay, well, what would be something considered wrong? And, if the price starts breaking below those levels, that's where I would start to introduce the wrong into the equation. Now, that is a matter of perspective. If you're some sort of breakout trader and you bought right there, then yes, it did perform wrong in the sense of it broke out and then, got your hopes up and then crashed on you. But I'm making these comments from more so the big picture point of view. So from an overall resistance standpoint, still do have this resistance zone up here from 73,000 up to 73,800. But I do want to map out another level, and I'll change it up just because we do now have a very clear area of resistance right here in the near term, right there at 71,500. So I'll make that a little bit of a different line right there to keep an eye on that. So all things considered, the chart's perfectly fine. Got some people's hopes up and then crushed them today with that nasty candle. But like I said, all things considered from the overarching standpoint, the bulls are still in full control. And same with the stock traders. Definitely you Bitcoin and crypto traders can benefit and will benefit from this class because what I talk about still certainly pertains to you. So go get signed up for it Thursday, March 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. If you enjoy these top 10 videos, if you'd like for me to continue to do these and include Bitcoin, hit that like button, leave a comment down below, or just comment Bitcoin. Do you care about Bitcoin? If you're one of the people that waits around for Bitcoin, comment below Bitcoin. That helps me out because I'm wondering, does anybody even care about me doing Bitcoin? So any sort of feedback would help me in that regard. And again, go get signed up for that free training.